Boom. And we are live. Hey, everyone. How's it going?
Hey everybody.
Do, 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 do. Yeah, thank you for joining us on this episode of Mission Briefing. This is one I'm particularly excited about. We have with us Ellen Shapiro, and Ellen, she maintains the iOS SDK for Apollo. And yeah, so she's going to help me get set up and running with an iOS app, which is cool and fun because I don't really write iOS. So I'm very excited to see how this goes. Yeah,
I'm
so
also interested to see how this goes. So
yeah.
we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, because this is a neat kind of like experiment. Like, hey, what would happen if someone with minimal experience in Swift or Objective C or anything in iOS land tries to build an app with GraphQL and Apollo? So yeah. So I'm so glad to have you on. Thank you so much for taking the time to join me and join us.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sure. Thanks for having me. Yeah, it's exciting to sort of try this whole live streaming thing out for the first time. So it's I've done
yeah,
like live interviews and stuff before, but I've not actually tried to build anything live.
yeah.
Normally I shy away heavily from live coding, so this is gonna be fun.
Well, I am a glutton for punishment, and so I like
Really.
to jump on a stream and code in front of everyone. And sometimes it's great, and then sometimes it's a trash fire, and we'll
Yeah.
we'll see what today is.
Yeah. I hope y'all brought popcorn because
Yeah,
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 it's
we're
gonna
in
be
for a
fun.
ride. Yeah, so we have like nothing. So we're basically what we're going to do is start from scratch, and we're just going to whip up an iOS app and just get GraphQL integrated and working within it, right? We're not going to go too much into depth, but we're going to kind of take a look at what it looks like to get started on iOS. And what it takes to get GraphQL in there. So I can't wait. And I guess like without further ado, we can go ahead and dive into it. Unless there's anything you wanted to add first before we get started.
Yeah, I mean, I think the big thing the main thing that you and I are going to be doing today is walking through some of the getting started tutorial that we've got
Yeah.
on the website. So that's now available at apollographql.com. And this is George Michael, who has decided that he would like to also learn how to code.
Yes. All
Um,
pets welcome. All pets welcome.
he's like, oh my God, you're sitting here and you're not typing. That means I can type. I can get I can get pets. And now he's like, oh God, there's people on the other side. I have to leave. But anyway, yeah, like the biggest thing is that what we're going to be building today is going to be something that will be hitting sort of the results of the tutorial of our that we put together for our full stack folks for the back
Cool.
end.
Yeah.
And then we'll be sort of going from there. And there's definitely like a lot of pieces that I will try to make sure we don't gloss over,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
there's also, and I'll walk you through sort of how it's set up right now. If we have time, I'll walk you through sort of trying to go through the setup of the beta that we
Okay.
have for actually doing some of the scripting stuff in Swift, which
Ooh,
is
that'd
pretty
be
fun.
cool. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
but yeah, that'll depend on whether we have time or not. But I think
Yeah, for sure.
we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, exactly. I love it. And so, as always, if you come up with any questions as we're going through this, drop them in the chat. We'll try, do our best to try to get to it. But I mean, who knows what's going to happen here? We might get so deep down the rabbit hole we forget we're streaming, right? All right.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's do this. Okay. So the very first thing is in the introduction. I've already confirmed that I have met the requirements. I have a high enough version of Xcode, which I have learned today that lowercase c, folks, lowercase
Yeah.
c.
Yeah, it's funny because somebody just posted something where like the creator of the thing that eventually got turned into Xcode actually has it on his like Twitter bio as X capital C code, and people are
That's
like, ah!
hilarious. That is
It
so
was
funny.
a bunch of people's minds just blew up when that went around, so it was pretty fun.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, so we've got that, and I guess yeah, we'll take a look at essentially what we're building, which we're kind of tying on to the end. So I don't think we have to go jump on to this, right? We can go.
Right.
We'll go to.
So yeah, create your project.
All right, cool. Yeah, and so
Okay.
I'm already set up. I got this open. Let's just do this. Let's create our
Okay.
project. So
Okay.
I'll just have you walk me through what kind of project to do. So create new Xcode project. Oop.
Yes.
Oh, there we go. Spinning wheel already. All right, cool.
Nice. And I believe it says master detail application, which is that one that's sort of over to the side there.
There we go. Okay, so I'm
Okay.
gonna
Go
hit
ahead and hit
next.
next.
And
And then you name the project Rocket Reserver.
okay, does it like can I use dashes or no?
No, usually in Swift we're using Pascal case names
Oh, okay.
for so capital R, capital R, capital
That's
R
right.
Rocket, capital R Reserver.
That's right. Yeah, okay.
Reserver. There you go.
Reserver. That's a hard one to type actually, I guess.
Yeah.
All right.
Um,
Okay.
and for organization identifier, that's usually whatever company you're working on. So just do Apollo GraphQL.
Okay. Just like all like again Pascal case?
No, that one can just be all lowercase.
Got it.
It's
Okay.
let's see, and I think it should actually be com.apollo.graphql just because it's that reverse DNS
Oh, that's right. That's right. That's
identifier
right.
type thing.
Yep, yep.
So yeah, there we
Like
go.
that, right? Okay.
Yep. And then language definitely has to be Swift.
Okay.
Because our library is all entirely in Swift. You can call it from, or no, you actually can't call it from Objective-C. You have to call it from Swift. Because
Ooh, good to know. Yeah, that's good to know.
there's a bunch of stuff that's tied really heavily into the Swift runtime, and particularly into Swift's generic system, which does not play very nicely with Objective-C's.
Got it.
So
Got it.
okay. User interface. Now you can choose whatever you like normally, Swift UI or Storyboard. I have this set up in the tutorial to use Storyboard just because Swift UI is only usable right now in versions of iOS 13 and 0 and higher, and 13 is the current iOS.
Okay.
Our library supports back to iOS 9, so I figured let's go for a good old fashioned storyboard. And,
Yeah.
together here.
I like it. I mean, Swift UI is real new. It's like cool, it's fancy, but like, a lot of apps are still being built on Storyboard, I feel like. So,
Yeah, so this is
yeah.
going to be fun when we start to actually build the UI if you haven't worked with that before. But
I have a little tiny bit, but like, yeah, might as well say no, actually. Okay. All right.
and then you can leave those unit tests and UI tests checked or unchecked if you'd like. I think today we're not going to get anywhere near testing for that. So
Yeah.
If you want to check them, that's fine.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Cool.
Okay. So then you should be able to hit next.
All right. Real quick, I just want to say shout out to Caesar Dev Root, who is joining us from Chile right now. So
Cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, and so this is where it wants to save it, right?
Yeah, so you can just sort of
it'll
put it in a folder or wherever.
Yeah, I got a projects folder. I'm gonna drop it in there. Create Git repository on my Mac. Yeah, why not, right?
Yeah. Usually that's a good idea, just because then you don't have to worry about whether your project is under version control or not.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I would have to do it anyway, so I might as well as let Xcode do it for me.
Yep. Thanks, Xcode. All right.
Yeah. Ooh.
Okay. So now let's take a look at sort of what it's created already. No author. Oh, this is go ahead and hit fix.
This is because I don't have default set, right?
That is correct. So yeah, I would just put yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
And
at
then
that point, there's not like a save button or anything.
oh, cool. It's
like,
just done.
Hey,
Yeah. All right. So as soon as like I in something else, it's done. Cool. Okay. So that's fixed. I'm gonna resize this real quick. Give me 1 second.
Yeah.
All right, and then let me slide this over. Cool. There we go.
All right. So the first thing that you're going to notice is that sort of Rocket Reserver is automatically created with all of the stuff that you need to do a master detail view controller. So you have your app delegate that is sort of the starting point for every application. Scene delegate, which is new in iOS 13, that sort of helps coordinate the way that scenes are working, which I have to admit, like, I haven't really had a lot of time to play with and
Yeah.
understand.
Gotcha. That's
But
interesting.
it's basically sort of the long-term replacement for app delegate, partly because app delegate a big piece of it is allowing better multitasking on the iPad. So you can
Okay.
have it's essentially two instances of your application running at the same time, and
Ah.
having a scene delegate allows you to sort of more easily figure out, okay, where do I need to do stuff for each of those.
It seems
That's my
like a
understanding anyway.
yeah, it sounds like a lower level kind of manager, whereas like app delegate is like global and would affect all instances of the app. Is that?
Yeah. Well, so each instance of the app would hits the app delegate once.
Uh-huh.
So it's definitely something where it's more sort of like, am I dealing with just the general startup tasks of the application versus am I
Oh,
dealing with one particular sort of window of it,
got
I
it.
guess would be a way of thinking of it.
Yeah, got it. So for
But
me,
yeah,
for my brain, I'm gonna say it's like having your web app open in multiple windows and then just like knowing which tab you're in and maintaining that state.
yeah, pretty much. That's again, like, this is my understanding of it. Please feel free to correct me. For those of you who actually have to build stuff with UI in iOS
There you
13.
go. But until
Uh,
they do, we're
yeah,
gonna own it.
yep. But yeah, so the the other things that you see in there are the master and detail view controller. So that's basically, master is like a table view. It gives you everything that you need in order to create a list. And
Okay,
then detail view controller is sort of the, like, hey, I drilled in and here's a detail of the thing.
got it.
So by default, this template will sets up a whole bunch of stuff for you. So that's nice.
Yeah, cool.
We'll sort of avoid going too far into that stuff, but now you've actually got all of that. So the
Yeah.
next thing that you're going to want to do is, if you go to Xcode file,
Okay.
and then you'll see one called Swift packages.
Swift packages.
Most of the way down. Most of
Oh,
the way down.
there it is.
There you
Add
go.
package
Add package
dependency.
dependency.
Okay.
So Swift Package Manager is the new package manager that Apple's been developing. They've finally got it integrated into Xcode as of Xcode 11, and it's been great. There's
That's
still a few
cool.
things that are uh, not working completely the way that we would like them to, but there's a bunch of stuff coming up in 5.3 that I think is going to be really helpful with that.
Uh,
Swift 5.3. So there's going to be a bunch of stuff about bringing in things like images and storyboards and nibs and stuff that can't be done right now, because right now in 5.2 you can only bring in actual code files.
got it.
Uh,
Okay. Sorry, let me bring that
so
back up. I lost that there for a second.
yeah,
Swift
Xcode has a way of doing
packages.
Swift
Oh, that was
packages.
on me. I switched window focus actually. So that's a my bad.
So okay, so add package dependency. Okay.
Okay.
And so you have to enter the package repository URL. So you do HTTPS
Wow, you just like know it off the top of your head. That's
colon
awesome.
slash slash,
Yeah.
yeah, github.com
All right.
slash Apollo GraphQL
Cool. All right.
slash Apollo dash iOS
Yeah.
dot, and the dot git is actually important here because of reasons that I don't 100% understand, but it's part of how the Swift Package Manager actually looks into a Git repository to try and find the package.swift that defines what everything is
Yeah.
uh, in a particular package. So once you've got that,
All right.
go ahead and hit next. And so that's going to go and sort of be like, okay, so it's determined, okay,
Huh.
here's the most recent version. Now we're still at a zero major version, which means there are going to be some breaking changes in minor versions. So what you probably want to do is change that version to up to next minor, so that Swift Package Manager doesn't accidentally upgrade you past any kind of patch that patches will not contain breaking changes, but potentially minor versions can, as part of Semver, as long as you're at version 0.
Yeah.
So there's still a lot of stuff that's going to be getting broke. So I'm really hoping to get things to a 1.0 version sooner rather than later. But it's a long-term project, because there's a lot of stuff that was not super well maintained for a bit, and I think just getting everything back up to speed and getting it to a point where it's really like, all right, let's do this, let's make it maintainable. That's really what I'm looking for a 1.0. So it's gonna be okay. Nice. So now you have up to next minor, so you won't accidentally get upgraded past like 0.27.2.
Yeah.
So go ahead and next.
All right. I just real quick want to comment that it's pretty cool that you can also do it by branch, or even load a specific commit if you want to get a locked version of whatever package it is. And then
that's super cool.
Yeah, and real quick also before we move on, I'm very used to, again, in my minimal amount of experience, using CocoaPods. Is this now we don't use CocoaPods? And for anyone who might not know, it was kind of like a dependency manager for iOS and Objective-C Swift projects, right?
Yeah, this is definitely an alternative to CocoaPods.
Okay.
There's still a lot of places, React Native included, that really heavily rely on CocoaPods.
That's where my experience comes from.
Yeah, they're basically different tools with different ideas, but it's definitely something where I feel like I've had pretty good luck with CocoaPods over the years. I have generally, so there are 3 main package managers on iOS. There's CocoaPods. There's another one called Carthage.
Right.
And then there's Swift Package Manager. CocoaPods was I had my fair share of fights with it, but for the most part over the last few years, it's been fairly stable.
Yeah.
Carthage, I have consistently fought with and lost regularly, and still do. I am very frustrated with it, and I am eager to be able to drop support for it, but I think at the very least until Swift 5.3 lands, we're not going to be able to.
Gotcha.
And I think so there's definitely some things where just getting Swift Package Manager up to speed on all of the sort of must-haves for everyone is a little bit of a blocker, but we're at least going to be supporting CocoaPods and Swift Package Manager for quite a while.
Got it.
I think, obviously people always want to have sort of things done exactly the way that they want them done. I think I think a lot of the advantages that you saw with Carthage in terms of how things were, basically it would pre-compile everything for you into a framework, and then so when you would compile your application, it wouldn't have to recompile the framework. But
interesting.
There have been a bunch of advances in how some of that recompilation works in Swift that basically mean it's not really that big a deal.
It's not as needed anymore.
Yeah,
Was it like a time saver, right? Because you didn't have to recompile the framework, so the app build times would be faster? Is that...
That was the idea.
Okay.
And I think, I think especially if you're working at a place that has a ton of small frameworks that you use, if you're working in a place where you're dealing with really big Objective-C frameworks and stuff like that, Carthage was really helpful for that. But I think there's a lot of other instances where there's just things that sort of need to be done in a way that is sort of I don't want to say ancillary, but like sort of next to installing the thing that it's really, really hard to do
Yeah.
with this stuff. So
Yeah, for
that's
sure.
kind of, yeah. And I think there, one thing that we've run into with Swift Package Manager, and I'll talk about this a little bit more later, but is that there are some pieces of our CodeGen story that are a little bit dependent on current behavior of Swift Package Manager,
Yeah.
rather than anything like documented, which is part of why I've been moving some of our code generation stuff. Right now in beta, we have the ability to do code generation through Swift scripting, but I think for this we'll at least start with just the basic what do you call it, bash scripting
Okay.
that
Yeah.
was happening before.
Gotcha.
All right,
Yeah.
so go ahead and hit next. And so what it's going to do is it's going to fetch and download everything for Apollo iOS.git. What that does is it basically pulls the entire repo for Apollo iOS. And then it traverses the dependency graph and looks and sees, okay,
Wow.
what are all of the dependencies for this? And again, this is one of the pieces of Swift Package Manager that's a little bit frustrating, which is that it will pull every single dependency that the project has, regardless of whether you're actually using a particular
Interesting.
library that's using that dependency. So the SQLite.swift thing gets pulled, even if you're not using the SQLite sub library. Unfortunately,
Interesting.
the Starscream, which does WebSockets, also gets pulled, even if
You're
you're
not
not
using
doing that.
subscriptions or something. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that's annoying. So
Yeah.
yeah, so for what we're going to be doing today, you only really need Apollo.
Cool.
As the So Apollo is sort of right now our core runtime and networking and things like that. And then the SQLite caching library is basically something where it takes the protocol that we have for caching and implements it in SQLite. And
Got it.
then the WebSocket is a way of implementing something called a network transport, but in a way that can be done with WebSockets. And
Got
so that's all sort of work in progress. That's all stuff that's working. There's some work in progress to try and bring out some of the like really basic types of Apollo into like a Apollo core library, just so that it can be shared more easily between the main library and the CodeGen library, and then also just have
Got it.
something where if you're only or if you're generating code in libraries, you don't need to import the entire Apollo lib. You only have to import the core that has all the types that you need.
That makes sense.
So that is super work in progress, but for right now, Apollo.
Very cool. And again, you said the code gen lib. That'd be like if we wanted to do, what would that be for? The code
So that's
generation
going to be
stuff?
for the Swift scripting code generation.
Which we might get to
So
maybe if we have time.
yeah, we'll
Okay.
see. We'll
Okay.
see. Okay.
All right.
So yeah, go ahead and hit finish. Okay.
That was fast.
And yeah, well, okay. So yeah, so you can see under that Swift package dependencies on the left-hand side, you can see all the versions that everything is going to, and it sort of says, okay, like we have Apollo 0.27.1, and then you can see what other versions of everything is tied to.
Yeah,
So
Starscream is such
that's,
a cool name. I'm sorry, I just have to. That is like,
yeah,
who came up with that?
Transformers fans apparently.
Oh, that
So
makes sense. Okay.
yeah, that's our WebSockets library.
Nice.
Okay.
All right.
So the next thing that you want to do, let's see. So now that that's all set up, I'm going to look at what I told people to do next, is obtain your GraphQL schema.
Ooh.
So
Is that in the
now
docs?
this,
Let me jump over there real quick, because I
yeah,
just like in case
there-
someone's following along. Here we go.
yeah. So yep. Okay. So you can grab that Apollo fullstack tutorial.herokuapp.com.
Got
Let's
it.
say, or open a new window or something.
Oh, like,
Um,
yeah. I already copied the link, and I can open it here. You mean if you want to explore it a little
okay.
bit?
Yeah, so this is actually, we're kind of going to be flipping back and forth between the instructions and the thing here.
Cool.
So one thing that, yeah, so if you pull out the docs, you're able to sort of see, okay, here's where a lot of stuff is defined. Here's where you are able to see, okay, what are the launches and the queries and the queries and the mutations that you're able to make.
Yeah.
And then, if you click on, let's see, launch. One thing that you can see once you dive in is what's the type that's being returned, what are the arguments that you need to pass, and remember that this is all using TypeScript, so the ID type is going to be like with the exclamation point is saying that that's a required field.
Okay.
So it's a little bit opposite of Swift, which is a little bit frustrating. So in Swift, the exclamation point is like force unwrap, which is basically like crash if it's not there.
Ooh, that's
so
fun.
people are kind of allergic to the exclamation point there, whereas with TypeScript, that's basically just saying this is a required field, and something without any annotation at all is an optional field. So it would be the equivalent of a field with a property with a question mark in Swift.
Yeah.
So it's definitely one of those things where that can be a little bit sort of frustrating for people who are just getting started. But you're able to sort of look through the documentation, see what things are available to you, see what the types are, see what information you're going to be getting back about stuff.
Yeah.
So the other thing that you can do is you see that schema tab there, just below.
There we go.
Boop. Okay. See that nice big download button?
Ooh, yeah.
So download, and generally, yeah. So you can either download it in SDL, which is schema download language, which is basically what you're looking at right here.
Right.
Or you can download as JSON. I generally just download it as JSON, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah.
Because reasons I don't really know. Our tooling will be able to work with either one, but I would say just go ahead and download that. It looks like you already did.
Yep. Should I move that into like our projects folder or something?
Yeah. So let's go ahead and open that up in Finder. So in Finder.
All right.
Okay. So I would actually just rename that schema.json because introspection schema is too verbose. Okay. There's also a bunch of stuff that has things set up for the name of the file to be schema.json by default.
Got it.
So if you go, you can drag that into Xcode.
Oh, okay, cool. So let me bring back up Xcode. Boop. And then where do I drag it to?
So I would drag it sort of maybe just below detail view controller.swift.
Okay. Oh, right. I could drag it right into the file tree. Got it.
Yeah. So one thing that's going to happen here is it's going to ask you, okay, so you do not want to create folder references. You do want to copy items if needed.
Do not create folder? How do I turn that off?
Go to create groups.
Oh, okay.
And then check the copy items if needed.
Okay.
So that's going to copy it out of your downloads folder and into this folder. And then the one thing that you actually need to do that's a little bit counterintuitive is uncheck the add to targets thing. So you're adding this to your file system locally, but you don't actually have to add it to the target that's shipping.
Right.
That's nice because sometimes this schema.json document can be enormous.
Oh, that's a good call. Yeah.
So it's something where the schema.json document is something that helps with a bunch of stuff that you're going to be working on, but it's all used at compile time. None of it's used at runtime.
Right.
So you don't need to actually have it in your application.
That's cool. Do you git commit this as well, or do you leave it out of Git generally?
I usually git commit it.
Okay, cool.
I definitely.
You don't
I
want
don't know. I'm always. Yeah, just because it's. I think it's just for change tracking purposes. Like theoretically, it shouldn't change all that often, but it's really useful for being able to see what's changed between versions of a schema.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, cool. All right, so we've got this. So we're good. We hit
Yep.
finish. All right.
Yes, that's correct.
Boom.
Okay. So now you've got a schema.
Yeah.
Okay. So now, let's see. I showed some things to do here. Let's see. So you have your schema,
Yeah, we got that.
and within the tutorial, there's actually a much more detailed way of setting that up. But I
Gotcha.
think for what we're doing, it's going to be a little bit easier
Okay.
to avoid that.
Nice.
So let's see. So let's go to the. Let me double check that there's no. Okay, execute your first query. Okay. So this is where we actually, for iOS, can go back to the GraphQL
Okay.
website. So one thing that is kind of annoying about writing queries for iOS is that sometimes, basically, we have a plugin that works with Xcode,
Mm-hmm.
but it's a little bit of a thing to get it set up. And sometimes I can walk you through it once we actually get this basic stuff set up. But it's something where I have personally found it much easier to work on a query and get it working in
Yes.
GraphQL and like that it's actually returning data, and then putting it into the iOS app.
Yeah.
And I think, sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying I would like to report that I do the same thing in the web too. Like most times I always form the queries here and then copy them into my editor as well. It's just so much
Yeah,
easier.
yeah. And I think one thing on the code gen side that's important to understand is you can have the schema downloaded, but if you don't have any queries, it can't generate any code,
Yeah.
because the way that our code generation works, it basically says, okay, the schema is the world of what is it possible to do
Yeah.
on this graph, and then the queries are like, what am I specifically asking to do with this graph? And our sort of validation steps goes through and says, okay, is what you're asking to do actually possible? If no, error. If
Right.
yes, proceed.
Yeah.
And what actually gets generated in terms of types is not the entire world of types that you could potentially have,
It's what
but
you're
it's basically the
using.
types. It's the types that you're actually using.
Got it.
And
Which is cool.
so, yeah, so it can't know what types you're using if you're not asking for anything. So you have to come up with a query before you can actually do any of the build stuff.
Now I'm getting it. Now I get it. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. That makes sense.
Okay.
Okay.
So let's pull out that docs tab one more time just to sort of look at the information. So let's pull let's look at that launches one. So launches, launch connection. So let's just so one thing that you can notice there is that the launches, the two parameters that it takes for page size and after are both optional. So you don't actually have to pass anything in for either of them.
Because there's no exclamation point, right? So it's saying not
that is
required. All right.
correct. And so this launch connection thing that gets returned, launches. So yeah, so the first thing that you want to do for iOS actually is to sort of create like an outer thing that says like
The query.
basically gives the query a name, because for the way we generate code, so query launches, and you don't
we'll
have
just
to
call it
put
that. Yeah.
query, because query launches, that'll actually be our code generation will say, oh, okay, you have a query named launches. The object that it creates is called launches query. So if you name it launches query, it would be generated as launches query.
I actually don't think that goes in the brackets either. I think I had that
No.
incorrect. There we go.
Yeah. So then you get your launches, and what you're able to do when you're in here is you can say, okay, for each of these launches. So I think you have to call the launches query with the two non-curly brackets, the curly brackets.
I think as long as the parameters are optional, we should be okay. I don't think we need the curly braces here. I believe we could just start listing out the properties. I think we should be all right.
Well, because the problem is that, well, we can try it, because the problem is that you have launches and then you have the launches property of launch connection.
Oh, do you mean up here I need the curly braces? Oh, with the
No,
query?
I mean,
on line 3?
yeah,
Like that?
yeah, and then you can do launches without the curly brackets,
Okay.
or without the things, because that basically, when you have it with the what do you call it? The parentheses, I believe that doesn't that call the query? Where did
Oh,
I put this?
I don't know. I think it's, so whenever I've done it, I think we could just try it. Let's just do like ID. And, oh wait. Oh, cursor has more. Oh, I'm at the root. That's why.
Yeah.
Now I see what you're saying. Sorry.
Yeah, so it's like launches.
Launches has launches. So sorry. I was not following there. Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. And then so for each one, so you can also put in cursor and has more at the top, so that actually gets sort of that, or under the, I guess, the second launches.
Yeah. So under here, I know it's so many launches.
Why don't we rename the query launch list? I think that's sort of the...
Heck yeah. It's a good call.
That's what I put. I was building it, because otherwise it gets really, really confusing.
Absolutely.
So this has more, and then so that will tell you, like, okay, are there actually more launches from your parse here? And then for each launch, you can get, let's start with just like ID and site.
Cool.
Okay, and then you can use mash that big old button right there.
Yeah, so you can
see what happens.
Yeah, you can do that, and you can also, I like to use Command Enter because I'm lazy, so I just like.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like mashing buttons, so I use the button.
Yeah. Is it an official account? Oh, this API? Is that what you're asking? Sorry, I'm trying to. There's a question from Lumorex. Is it like an official account for Apollo? Oh, this is just like, it's like a, would you say like a mock API essentially?
No, I mean, it's a normal API. What is it, Lumorex? Are you asking if this Twitch account is an official account for Apollo?
Oh, yeah, if so, then yes. I thought if you meant like the data, if this was like a... Okay, yeah. But yeah, if you're asking if this channel...
Yeah, so all of this data is basically data about recent SpaceX launches. And the sort of idea of what you can do is you can sort of book a ride on a recent SpaceX launch. So you can reserve a ride on a rocket, you can cancel a ride on a rocket, you can see what rockets you have rides reserved on, all that kind of stuff. So that's sort of the idea. If you're not logged in at all, you can at least get information about the launches.
Got it.
And so now that you've got a query that's actually working and returning data, what you want to do is you want to copy that query.
First, let me see. I'm pretty fine with this. Hey, thank you for the follow. All right, got that. Okay, cool. So I've got that copied. We're going to go back to Xcode. Yep. Ooh, another follow. Awesome. Zurich, thank you. Yeah, and you mean the channel. Yes, this channel is the official Apollo Twitch channel. Yeah, thank you so much for joining us. Yeah.
Okay, so now, let's see. What's the best way to do this? So if you go to the Rocket Reserver folder there, that's below, so right-click on that.
All right.
And then new file.
Boom.
Okay, And then, so go ahead and scroll down a little bit. Let's see. So there should be one that's just like empty file or something like that.
Oh, empty file. Let's search. There we go.
So yeah, don't use the user interface one because that's an empty nib. Use the other empty.
All right, got it.
Yep. Okay, and so go ahead and call that launchlist.graphql, since that's where we're gonna put the launch list.
Oh wait, should I be doing? Yeah, I should do this Pascal case, right?
Yep. Welcome to iOS.
Oh yeah. Okay. And is this right? That's where we want it?
Yeah. I don't think you actually have to have the .graphql file in your target either, so you can uncheck that.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay, cool.
Yeah, because the GraphQL files and the schema are all used to generate all of the code that actually deals with your application. So go ahead and hit create.
All right.
Okay, so that should now be in there, and then just paste in that query that you got.
All right. So let me do that. Hang on. Had a response to someone in the chat real quick. Let me paste that in, and I think I can do. Yay! We can blow this up so it's legible. Cool.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
And yeah.
So now you can see that you have your query and your schema. So now that you have your query and schema, you have the two pieces that you need to start putting stuff together.
Nice. I don't even have to save this, do I? It seems like it's like auto save. Do I have to save this? How does this work?
You should save it, but Xcode does a lot of auto saving.
Got it. Okay, cool. I just saved it.
It used to crash a lot, and so I feel like they built the autosave stuff pretty robustly. Because I used to have a Tumblr called Xcode has crashed, and I haven't put anything new on there in a couple of years just because it's gotten much more stable. But it used to crash all the time, and it was really annoying. And it's definitely something where I think they sort of made the autosave really robust as a while we're trying to get this to be less crashy, here's a cookie so that next time it crashes
yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, so I've actually gotten, it's funny because there's other IDEs that don't do that, and I actually have gotten lazy about saving stuff every 5 seconds, and then now I have other stuff where it's like, oh yeah, I forgot about that, and then I had to reboot my computer, and it's like, wait, where'd all of that go?
Oh yeah, that's rough. That's the worst.
Yeah, that's annoying. Okay, so now that we've got these two pieces that we can put together, now we need the glue. Now we need to sort of say, okay, how do we put them together? So the next piece that you're going to want to do is that you're going to want to go to the Rocket Reserver Xcode project file, which is just above that folder.
Okay.
Sort of blue thing.
Yeah.
Like that. Yeah, so if you click on that, so this is sort of general information about the project. And so one of the things that you'll see is that you have the project file, and then you have each individual target.
Got it.
Here we only have one target, so you just click on that one target, Rocket Reserver. And then you'll get a whole bunch more information about what's going on here. So one of the things that you can do in Xcode is you can add what's called a build script run, or a build phase run script. So if you go to build phases, there you go.
Yep.
So see that little plus there that's in the corner?
Yep. This one here?
Above dependency. Yep. Okay, so
all right.
Yep, click on that. So that's the add a new build phase. So you want to do a new run script phase.
All right.
And so that'll start by sort of saying, okay, you've got a run script. If you flip that little flippy triangle open, by default, it does literally nothing. Hooray!
Yay!
One thing that I recommend is if you sort of click in the area where it says run script, you can rename it.
Okay. All right.
And I usually rename that Apollo Code Gen.
You can click in here. Oh, got it.
So
Got it.
yeah,
That was
it's
not clear.
a little finicky, but
Do you do it like that? Apollo Code
Yep.
Gen? Yeah?
Yep.
Cool.
Yep, that's perfect.
Nice.
And then one thing to be aware of is that you can actually drag these up and down in terms of order.
Yeah.
And what you want to be able to do is you want to be able to do it before the compile sources phase.
Ooh, okay.
Because what that basically does is it allows you to have all of your code that's get generated before you compile any of the rest of your code. And then that way it makes sure that the generated code and the rest of your code play nicely together.
Got it. Okay. Well, I've moved it, so we should be good there.
Okay. So, no. Okay. So I think we're gonna have to go back to for the tutorial.
Okay.
If you go back to the obtain your GraphQL schema, this is sort of the thing that I was talking about.
Oh, look at that, right in front of us. Okay.
Yeah. So in that step 7, where you've got that script path, run bundle code gen. So go ahead and just hit that big copy button. It's got a whole bunch of stuff on there.
Thank you, Trevor, for that. Shout out to Trevor Blades.
All
right.
A mirror. So go ahead and tab back over to Xcode.
And this can go here.
Go ahead and paste that in. Yep.
Oh yeah.
And
I feel like a real hacker right now.
Okay. And then did that? Okay. Where did I get the script path from? Sorry, there's just a.
No worries.
Oh, okay. So go back. If you go to step 6, see where there's the adding a code generation build script.
Yeah. Open this.
Paste script package manager run script. Yeah. So maybe open it in a different tab.
Yeah. Oh well, that did not. That's weird. Okay, I'll go back. Doesn't matter. We're here now. All right. And what am I doing?
Swift package manager run script.
This.
Okay. So yeah, all of that nonsense.
Yeah, but we got this. So boop.
Yeah. So the reason that this is terrible is that there's no way to include non code files with Swift Package Manager, and I'm basically taking advantage of the fact that Swift Package Manager, in order to do what it needs to do, actually checks everything out into derived data.
Gotcha.
So that's why it's doing some really weird stuff with like trying to figure out where the derived data is.
That makes sense.
And so if you go ahead and paste all of that into Xcode above that script path there. Okay. Yeah. So
it looks like we have 2. Are these separate commands here? Oh.
Yeah, right now there's commands. Yeah. So I think, you can actually get rid of that schema download one because we downloaded the schema manually. So now you have this script path. So what that's going to do is look under the hood to find a script that's called run bundled code gen.
Yeah.
Which is going to run essentially a bundled version. It's going to try to download a zip file that has our JS CLI and essentially the entire Node runtime in it.
Yeah.
And once it does that, then it will use that to generate the code for what you have. So right now we've got the local schema file. It's called schema.json.
Yeah.
And then it's going to generate everything in one file called api.swift.
Nice.
So now, I believe if you try to build this and run it,
it should work.
So right? if you just build it, yeah. So just
oops.
Yeah.
I meant to hit like go to build. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. So if you go to the little talk bubble on the let's see what the failure was. So if you go to the little talk bubble in the what is it called? In the left-hand navigation at the far right of it, there's like a little talk bubble at the top of it.
The little question mark?
Or up.
Oh, chat up here. Got it.
Yes. So that's basically a list of like, here's what's happened before. Okay, so loading schema.
Cannot read property reduce of undefined.
Undefined. All right, let's look at what's going on in the
That bash script?
JSON. Well, no, let's look at what's going on in the schema.json file first, because
Okay.
it does look like. So if you look at this information, it says checking if the CLI needs to be downloaded, downloading the zip file. I've got the zip file. Now I'm extracting it, and then it sort of barfs out the
commit or whatever. Yeah. SHA.
Yeah. So then it's got everything in here. So at a certain point, error loading schema. All right. So let's see what's in schema.json. Let's make sure that's something that it's supposed to be.
Looks legit.
Okay. That's a giant JSON. Oh, yeah, I remember what this is.
Ooh.
This isn't working because the stupid download button. The download button actually downloads in an old format of JSON. Let's try. I'm actually curious to see if this will work if we just download the GraphQL.
Put that command back, right? Yeah, the one that we had before saying to download the schema from.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's do that. So to do that, I go back to where was that? The project settings?
Yeah, so you have to.
Here we go. There. But I got to go to the tutorial. Let me grab that. We got to go back. Here, that's this.
Yeah, so what I would say is maybe comment out that run bundle code gen thing first. That very last line.
Line 23 here.
Yeah, so you have to do a hash to.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. And then.
Below the CD, go ahead and paste in what you just copied.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that will actually go. And again, like the run bundle code gen will do the same thing about like checking to see if anything needs to be downloaded. And then schema download, I think, should download it to that schema.json file. So I think if you build it now, it will actually try to do that download.
Okay. And then to build, should I go? What's like the project?
Command B.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Command B. Oh, it's under product. That's where it is. I could never remember, but it's under product build. Okay.
Because that's always where I look for things. Okay, build. Now let's look at schema.json.
Yeah, it should be different.
Again.
Oh, look at that.
Aha.
Oh, it's totally different.
So there's something going on with the GraphQL implementation that we're using where it's just returning a totally different result of the introspection query.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really know what's going on with that, to be perfectly honest. But that's why we have this other way to do it.
Yeah.
Because we know it's actually going to return the correct information.
Yeah, and honestly, to me, I would prefer to be able to do it remotely and like this. I don't have to concern myself with like manually downloading and copying it over. I think this is great. Yeah. Now you just point to the GraphQL API.
Yeah. And so now that we've done that, if you go back to the build phase run script.
Let's do that.
So that was, there you go.
Now we want this back, right?
Yeah, I would actually comment out the schema download just so it doesn't have to do it.
Got it. Okay, but it's cool to keep it in there, and then we've always got it in our pocket, so then if we wanted to re-pull it, we always could just by uncommenting that out.
Okay.
Cool. All right.
Okay.
I'm digging it.
Now, if you build, let's see if it actually succeeds. So just Command B.
Yeah, got that. I got it.
If you go back to the talk bubble.
Boom.
Okay. So if you go back to the talk bubble thing, let's look at what happened there. So you've got build today. Okay. All messages maybe.
Do we want to see the? Oh, here we go.
Yeah. So there we go. Yeah. So okay. So what you can see, there we go. is that where it says run custom shell script Apollo code gen,
Yeah.
which is a little bit further down.
Yep.
There's a nice ad for our new Swift package manager in beta. And so it looks to see if the CLI is already downloaded, if it's already there, if it's been extracted, and then it actually runs. You can see if you hit that more button that's way over on the right-hand side, you can
Oh,
see
I
that
see.
full
Yeah.
command that's being run.
Get like all the pop-ups. There we go. Yeah.
Yeah. So and then so it'll that starts our TypeScript code generation actually running.
Okay.
So loading Carlo, generating query files, all that kind of stuff, and then generating query files with Swift Target wrote one files.
So that's our
which
one
is basically
query.
saying, hey,
Yeah.
that's our one file because we are, and even if we have more queries in this setup, it'll all still get written to one file because if you pass in that API.swift as the destination,
Oh, right.
if you pass in a single file as the destination, it just dumps everything into one file.
Got it.
You can pass in a folder and have it, and it'll dump everything out into different files, but there's information on how to do that in some of our more advanced setup stuff, but for the most part, like just for getting started, just having it all in one file is totally fine.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
So
Okay.
the main reason it's totally fine is because when code gets generated, it's not automatically added to Xcode, and we're gonna see this in a second. So if you go back to the file tree tab, so you'll see, okay, like nothing's really different.
Yeah, you're right.
If you tab back over to Finder.
All right.
Let's see, and then you go to
that project.
Wherever the project. Yeah, Rocket Reserver is what it's called.
Yeah, here, let me drag this over so it can be in scene. All right.
Yep, and then go into Rocket Reserver.
Oh, look at that.
And see API.swift. So you just drag that over into Xcode.
And then this time we won't copy over as needed. So it just goes in here?
Yeah, it goes in there, and then you can leave copy if needed because it won't actually need to copy.
Oh.
But you do add to targets because that's actually the piece. That API is the piece that's going to be in your Swift code. That is basically, it's generated by all of the information that you have put together for your GraphQL queries.
Yeah.
But this is the piece that's actually living in your code.
Got it. Okay.
So go ahead and hit finish. Okay, so let's look at API.swift. So there's a few things that'll be in here. So this launch list query, the first thing that you'll see is sort of a raw definition of the operation. It's going to look very much like what you did before.
Yeah.
It'll have these extra type name parameters that helps us figure out what type to parse things into.
Yeah.
And so it'll have an operation name, and it'll have all sorts of other goodies and stuff, and it'll have.
Real quick, I just want to say that that's available here as well. So, like, if I go under just because, and I just want people to, shouldn't that be available type name?
It is.
Yes.
It should be available.
Yeah, there we go.
It's definitely something where it's more of like a meta field.
Yep.
And it's something that people don't usually add on their own.
Yes.
Unless they know. So it's something that we kind of add under the hood for you automatically.
Yep.
So yeah, so that's kind of where, like, that's what your final query winds up looking like.
Uh-huh.
And the reason it needs those type names and stuff in there is for things like we do some stuff with query safe listing, where you need to be able to have the full hash of a query that is safe listed.
Yes.
Be identical, and if it doesn't have those type names in there, then it's not identical. So
got it.
It's yeah, that's a little annoying. And so the launch list query, it has a bunch of nested types. So it has there's the query itself, and then you have this data, which is the data that you actually get back from the server when you get a response.
Right.
And you're able to sort of say, okay, like, what's going on here? And it's able to do all the work that it needs to do in order to have all of the what do you call it? All of the fields get mapped to the correct properties.
Yeah.
The other thing that's interesting is that, again, launch here is going to be a so there's going to be like this launches thing, and then that's going to be a list of launches,
Got it.
or a list of launch.
Right.
This is one part where it gets our code gen actually gets a little bit too smart for its own good, because what you actually have instead of a launch there is a launch connection. So it actually drops that connection word there. But you still have the has more and launches. That's actually a launch connection object. Yeah. This is actually something that I'm planning on not dropping well, when I'm working on some new stuff.
Nice, but, cool.
It's because I think it is confusing.
Yeah, it'd be nice to have the connection on the type name, like the object name, so you know what you're dealing with.
Yeah, exactly. And so as you scroll further down, so you'll see that it has all of these variables. You'll see everything is sort of going through here, and just basically pulling things out of dictionaries, pulling things out of pulling things out of result maps and stuff like that. Yeah. So that's a little bit weird. So then if you keep scrolling down, then within that first launch type, you have a second launch type. And that's the actual launch.
This is, yeah. Okay, because here's our fields. Type name, ID, site.
Yep. And so that's sort of the idea of what you're going to be getting.
Yeah.
From everything else. So that's sort of what that structure looks like. And the reason that structure is so nested is that for each query, you can potentially get back a whole lot of different properties, and you want to make sure that you're only creating properties for the things that actually you've asked for. Because you could ask for many other properties of a launch besides the ID and the site.
Yeah.
But and let's say GraphQL ID is a required field. But how do you represent that if GraphQL ID if you didn't ask for it? If you didn't ask for it, you're not going to get it.
Yeah.
So how do you represent a required field that is absent? Basically, the way that we've chosen to represent it is by having this sort of nested structure that allows us to say, okay, this is a launch list query dot data dot launch dot launch.
Yeah.
And these are the fields that are on it.
Got it. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, which makes sense. Yeah. And I just want to take a second to say, thank goodness that this is generated for me.
This is definitely this is really annoying boilerplate to generate.
Yeah.
And honestly, there's some stuff that I'm working on right now. I'm working on a Swift based rewrite of our code generation that really leverages Swift Codable much more heavily than we have before, because when this code was originally written, Codable wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
And so Codable basically allows really super easy parsing between different representation types.
Okay.
And particularly JSON and property lists, but I think there's some other stuff that I'm going to be weaseling it into, which should be fun. But the amount of work that you have to do all this is way lower than it is with what we're doing here. So the amount of code that it generates is somewhere between a third and half of what is in here right now. Wow. So I'm very excited about that.
That's cool. Yeah, that's awesome.
I have no ETA on that. It's still very much in its infancy, but I am really excited about getting that up and running.
Oh yeah, I bet.
So anyway, now that you have this API,
yeah, we can call it, right?
Yes, you can. So let's go to. So in the tutorial, I have people just sort of slap something into appdelegate.swift just to make sure it's working.
Yeah.
But let's just go straight into masterviewcontroller.swift.
Okay. I like your style. Let's just dive right in. Yeah.
So the first thing that we want to do is you want to create an Apollo client. So at the top there, not that far top, below where it says object equals any.
All right. So new variable here.
Yeah, new variable. It's actually going to be let
Okay.
rather than var, which is basically a constant in Swift.
Yeah.
Let Apollo equals Apollo client. Oh wait, hang on. You have to import Apollo below
UI kit, right? Okay.
Yeah, because otherwise it's going to have absolutely no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah. But now I'll start getting
So
autocomplete.
Apollo clients, yes. So then if you start, so it's not, I don't think it's going to take the no initializer. So delete backspace.
Okay. So we just want to keep it as right now. Oh, there we go.
And then do an open parentheses. And then there we go. So Apollo client URL.
And then this is where we're going to put, okay.
Yeah, so then you need to put URL, open bracket, and then one of the choices is going to be string.
Wait. File URL with path string.
That's local, so it's just going to be URL string.
Oh,
so
okay.
Be, like probably way further down.
Oh, right, because it's. Oh, yeah. I'm actually. Oh, string URL. Got it. Sorry. Yeah, there we go.
So that string is going to be the HTTP string that is the same as the GraphQL, the graphical thing that you're already looking at.
Okay.
So if you tab back over to Chrome,
we could just take it right from here.
Yep, right there. Copy, and then there you go.
Cool.
Okay.
I want to take 1 second to say that I really appreciate the default theme in Xcode. It's pretty nice.
Yeah, the dark mode theme is pretty nice.
Yeah.
So then the one other thing that you're gonna have to do after, before the last closing parenthesis. You have to add an exclamation point in there because for some reason the URL string thing is a failable initializer. So put in foo as your URL and have it work. Okay, but what that'll do is it creates an Apollo client that allows you to that has that that Apollo full stack tutorial as sort of the thing that it's pointed at. So now in Viewdidload,
I have one quick question, if you don't mind.
Sure.
So a common thing to do when you have to set up Apollo client is if your API is authorized, you might want to add a header or something like that. Mm-hmm. What would that look like? Is that something we could just real quick
That is somewhat more complicated because that needs to involve setting up an HTTP network transport, a delegate for the HTTP network transport, and it's not nearly as easy as it is on web.
Got it.
It's a lot more involved.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So there's instructions in the tutorial on how to do that.
Oh, cool.
But I think what we start out with in the tutorial is let's not do that because it's kind of a pain.
Yeah. I see it right here. Enable authentication. Yeah. So I'll just drop that in the chat in case anyone's interested. And hey, maybe if you want to, we could do a follow-up to this at some point where we authenticate the API. Yeah. That'd be cool.
Yeah, that would be fun.
Yeah.
So right now we're not going to do anything involving an authentication. We're just going to straight up load data.
Let's do it.
And so if you go into Viewdidload,
mm-hmm.
How about just right after super.viewdidload?
Yep.
So go ahead and just tab down a couple of times and then do self.apollo. And then let's see. So fetch would probably be. So then let's see. Do that second one.
Oh, oops.
Yeah.
And
because that
then
actually gives you back some
can you
data.
do control spacebar? Yes, cool. I love that. So fun
Did
fact.
not know you could do that.
Yeah, yeah. If you are on the last like object and you need to get that menu back up, control spacebar will pop it up. Yeah. It works in VS
You know,
Code. I had no
but
idea if it would work here.
yeah, I feel like there's a lot of those like sort of muscle memory things that
Yeah.
people just have put in there because they're tired. Like a developer at Apple or something is tired of
Yeah.
doing that and not having it work.
Yeah,
So
yeah, for sure. Okay, so we want this one with the
yeah,
cache policy error void
yep,
setup. Okay.
yep,
Woo.
yep. So the the good news is you can delete the cache policy, context, and queue.
Okay.
Um,
We really
because
care
those
about the
are
result handler here, and it
yeah,
seems.
those yeah, those so the result handler is much more what we're going to be looking for. So the
Gotcha.
query that you're going to create that GraphQL query, then go ahead and delete back on that, so that it's and then do launch list query, I think is what it would be called.
Yeah, but there we go. It
Cool.
popped
And
up. Yeah.
yeah, and then you should just be able to put like the parentheses initializer. So open paren, close paren,
Okay.
because it doesn't have any parameters.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not going to be looking for any parameters.
Got you.
Um, so then I would say go ahead and tab to having that other thing highlighted, the result.
Uh-huh.
Okay, and then hit enter, and that'll transform it into a trailing closure. So you can go ahead and just have that instead of having that whole giant mess, just the word result in.
Oh, I can
So
get rid of parentheses?
you can get rid of parentheses. You also probably shouldn't have it be capitalized, because capitalized kind of indicates that it's a type rather than a
got it.
variable.
Is this H
Yeah,
something I did accidentally? I don't feel like that should
I
be
think
there. I was
that
like,
should not be there.
yeah, I was like, what is that? Okay, cool.
Yeah. So a result type is basically a type that says essentially success or failure. So
Okay.
and it's an enum, so you can switch on it.
Okay.
So if you type in switch result and then open bracket, yeah, there you
Oops.
go. And then go ahead and do case dot success.
From here, is that,
There should
or just type
yeah
success, or click this?
yeah you can click that.
Oh, okay. It was just gonna
Uh,
do. Okay, got it. Got it. Okay.
okay, and then what you can do there is say let GraphQL result.
Do I want to do how just all lowercase? Is that, or do we do now? Oh no, it looks like now we're doing like camel case, right?
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah. Oh, there should probably be a space between the case and the dot for success, just
Oh.
because that's
Oh,
yeah,
got it. Okay, that's right.
yeah. And then there needs to be a colon after that
All right.
to indicate like here's where the handling starts for this case.
Got it.
Um, and then
Does
for
it get a
now, let's just
closure,
do
or does that?
no.
Okay.
That's just a that's just it's just a control statement, so
Got
it's
it.
just similar to like an if else thing. So for now, let's do print GraphQL result. So you should probably do that on the next line.
And then print is, I can call it GraphQL results. Cool.
Yeah, and it'll do some interpolation there for you automatically. So the reason it's saying that the switch must be exhaustive is because you're not handling all the cases of the enum.
Which is
So
the error.
don't put it down there. Yep, don't put it down there.
Oop, oop.
Put it above that closing bracket, because the way that cases are
Oh,
enumerated,
oops.
they're not using the bracket. They're basically saying like this is the entire switch case. So that and then let error. And then you can print the error.
Look at me. Woohoo.
Woohoo! You. Okay. Oh
Uh-oh.
yeah, sorry. It's dot failure rather than.
Oh, dot failure.
Yeah.
Ooh, whoa. Oh, hey, come
Failure.
on now. Failure.
Yeah.
That's me right now, trying to code
Okay.
Swift.
So now, what should happen if you actually
Run this
either
thing.
do Command R or press the play button to run it on on a simulator. What should happen is when the view first loads up, um, this will take a minute. It has to like boot the
Yeah.
simulator system
So,
first. So when the view initially loads up, it'll actually it'll hit the network, it'll fetch the result of that launch list query, and then it'll parse it out and show you sort of what you've got going there.
got it. Okay.
So so this is sort of the idea is like, okay, like when I'm starting, I'm going to do this. And
Yeah.
Viewdidload, like people will fight with you all over and over again about whether Viewdidload or view will appear is the right place to do this. Let's just start with Viewdidload.
That's interesting. What is the difference between those two methods?
So Viewdidload only gets called once in the activity lifecycle, or in the activity lifecycle. What is this, Android? In the view controller lifecycle.
Yeah.
And basically, it's called when the view is loaded from. There we go. It's called when the view is loaded from the from either the nib or it just is finished loading. And what view will appear gets called anytime the view is about to appear on screen. So like if you create a thing and then you go to a detail of it and you go back to it, Viewdidload only gets hit once.
Got
the view
it.
will appear.
We'll hit every time.
Right after Viewdidload, and then also when you go back to it from the other thing.
Yeah. So this is totally fine to do this in here, but I get it. But like if you did want fresh results every time the app was brought to the foreground, in that case you would want view would appear as opposed to Viewdidload. Is that safe to say?
Yeah. It's definitely something where it's like it'll depend on a number of things. So,
That's very use case specific. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Cool. But it looks like
looks like we've got some data.
Yeah, no error. We got all of our data. This is cool.
Nice. So let's talk a little bit about how to actually do something with that data.
Yeah.
Let's see. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is sort of stick all the launches into an array that is sort of going to be driving most of the table view. So so a GraphQL result actually has two things. It has an optional for the data, and then an option for an error.
Okay.
And one thing that surprised the hell out of me when I first started was that you can have both data and an error.
Yes.
So it's something where you can get like a partial result and be like, hey, this microservice is out, so here's what I could get. Bye. Yep. That was very strange to me.
Yeah. All or nothing. All or nothing.
But that's something where because of that, GraphQL result doesn't inherit from Swiss result. GraphQL result is more sort of like, hey, it could be either or both.
Yeah.
So let's declare a new var, like an instance variable. So call that var launches equals open bracket, open non-curly bracket. Yeah, and then launch list query.
Because we're doing the type, right? Is that essentially? It's an array of launch list query or something? Is that?
No, it's an array of launch list query dot data dot launch. So
dot data. Oh, dot capital data. It looks like, right?
Yep.
Dot.
Yeah. So that data type launch.
Here.
Yep.
Dot.
And that, remember, is the launch. Yeah, that first launch is actually the launch connection, and then that launch is the actual launch.
Launch. Cool. Okay.
Launch, and then do an open and close parentheses next to that, just to say, hey, here's a new, outside of the bracket there.
Oh, I lost my H. There we go. Boop. Outside.
H
there we go. Cool.
Okay, cool. So what that does is when the view controller is initialized, it creates an empty array of that type.
Yeah.
And then, all right, so now you have the launches. So how do we actually get to the launches? So let's go back into that success, that success type.
You got it.
So yeah, go ahead and get rid of that print. And then do guard let.
So what is the guard here doing? Is that protecting this?
Yeah, it's basically, so a guard is basically like a kind of, it's basically if or bail.
Okay.
So guard is, yeah, so it's basically a way of saying like, hey, if this doesn't exist, then do something else.
Got it.
I guess we could do this as an if let. We don't need to do it as a guard let. So if let.
All right. Yeah. If let.
Launches equals GraphQL result dot data, and you can see that that's typed specifically to that. If you mouse over that, I think you have to maybe option click.
Okay.
Yeah, I forget how you actually. Yeah, there you go.
There we go.
So it's launch dot data. So because this has actually been passed into our Apollo.fetch with the query, it actually knows what the type of data is that's going to be coming back because of basically magic with generics.
Very cool.
So then you have GraphQL result dot data, and then dot. I think it's going to be dot launches.
Launches. Yep.
Yep. And then again dot launches.
Cool.
Okay. So what you're getting there, and then you can add a
semicolon,
curly brackets. No curly brackets.
Okay.
Yeah, the only thing that does the semicolon is the case statements for switches.
Got it.
Otherwise, it's just normal.
Got it.
Then you can do so. Then what that's doing is it's saying, okay, hey, did we get a GraphQL result that has data in it? And then the first launches is the launch connection. The second launches is the actual list of launches that you're going to have.
Yeah.
So let's do then do self dot launches, and then append. I think there's one that's like append context tense of or something.
Append context of sequence?
Yeah, that's bingo.
Cool.
And then just pass in launches there. So that passes that the result of that if let.
Got it.
Why is that?
Cannot.
Launches. Okay, so you may need to add another question mark between the two launches there, because I think that should be it. No.
Did I put that in the wrong place?
Yeah. What did I do here? First query. Like trying to remember what I've done incorrectly here.
Yeah, no worries. I would love to help you, but I am basically just like paddling in the ocean. I have no idea what's happening.
No. This is so. Why is that giving me?
Yeah.
So launches. Let's look at API.Swift.
All right.
Because I'm curious. So in that API.Swift, so we've got launch and its ID and site. So keep scrolling up. That'll get us to the
other launch.
Oh, wait. Go back down. Oh, that's annoying. Okay, so where line 92, where it says public var launches.
Yeah.
It looks like it returns a bunch of optional launches. what we're looking for is a bunch of non-optional
Required
launches.
launches, right? Yeah.
So
Okay.
yeah, I'm trying to remember what I did here within the
The code to
thing.
represent that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry, I'm just looking at my
Do your thing.
own
Do you?
tutorial.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, content of okay. So so we've got GraphQL result data launches, and then one thing that you can do, there's a basically a magic trick in Swift where if you call dot compact map 0
Ah.
dot compact map.
And then
Yeah,
we want this one with the transform.
yeah, basically.
Okay.
But instead of that whole thing, you can just do open brackets. So you can delete that and delete the parentheses. And then, open bracket, $0. And
This probably has to get fixed here, right?
no, because that needs to, the $0 needs to go up next to the,
Bracket.
next to the, yeah, it needs to be on that same line. And so does that other bracket. Because otherwise it's expecting it
Got
to
it.
be, yeah, there. Okay. So
Progress. We just got a warning, but I don't know what that
yeah,
is.
let me see what that warning is.
Trailing closure and context is confusable with body of statement.
Yeah. What that's trying to tell you to do is add a space between compact map and a 0.
Got it.
Hey, look, it went away.
Oh no. I think they want the
Oh,
space here.
maybe.
Yeah.
I usually do it with spaces on both of them, but
Oh, here too.
yeah.
They want spaces everywhere. Got it. No.
What the? All right.
Replace. Oh, they want parentheses around the
Yeah.
bracket.
Yeah. That must be a new warning. I haven't seen that one.
That's interesting. Okay. Well, whatever. As long as it silences the linter.
Yeah. That one's not even the linter. That's just a warning.
Oh, okay.
Let's see. So yeah. So now that will actually put all of the launches into that var launches thing.
Okay, so now launches will be an
So,
array of what we expect, which is like the ID and the site and the. I think that's all we're
yeah.
calling right now. Okay.
Yeah. So let's go back up to the top of the master view controller. Let's get rid of a couple of things. So get rid of that objects var.
Yeah, let's see if Command Shift K
Basically,
works. Oops. Nope. Cancel.
Nope.
That did not work. Is there like a delete line shortcut? Do you know?
I usually just do Command Delete.
Oh, Command Delete? Yeah, that probably does it. Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, that works. Nice. Okay.
So now you're going to have a whole bunch of errors, but what they're basically going to be telling you is where to delete stuff.
Right.
So,
I can see them here in the mini map
Yep.
on the side. So we can start going to clean that up.
Okay. So let's get rid of this insert new object method, because this is sort of something that Apple adds as a convenience.
Got it.
Let's see. We'll come back to the prepare for segue thing in a little bit. You can get rid of the add button. So those two lines, 36 and 37, can go away.
Cool. All right.
The 30. Can you go back up because there's going to be a.
Oh.
Yeah.
This line too.
Use of unresolved identity. Yeah, when you get rid of that.
Oops.
Yeah. Oh, it doesn't. Yeah, it only does it from like wherever you're.
Yeah, I'm not gonna. I'll just stick with this for now.
It's a little silly. Okay, so we'll come back to the prepare for segue in a minute.
Yeah.
For right now, let's just comment out the contents of like that if statement. Like leave if let index path, and then we'll just comment that other stuff out for right now.
All this.
So, yeah, perfect.
Cool.
Okay. So then, you'll have a warning. But
yeah.
So now, we're sort of in the heart of table view land, where you say how many rows are in a section. So in this case, you want the objects.count instead of objects.count, you want that to be launches. Yep.
All right. That seems reasonable.
Okay. And then so for let object, so launch. You can go ahead and launch. And then launches. And then you can get rid of that forcecast to NS date because it's no longer
a date.
Because launches, it's no longer a date, and because the self.launches thing is going to be because that's already typed as a launch.
Yeah.
It'll already know what type it is.
Gotcha.
And I would do launch.site.
Yep.
Okay. And then let's see what else is there. Can edit row and index path, so you can delete these two methods.
Yeah, we don't need these.
It's editing. Editing is for later.
Yeah, which is fun and cool, but for now, I don't think we need that.
That's not actually what we need.
Yeah.
So let's load that. And then one more thing that I just remembered. So if you go back up to where the switch statement is that we had.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So one thing to be aware of with view controllers is that they can get deallocated before something returns. And a good way to avoid having that cause a crash is to pass in what's called a weak self. When you're doing anything that references self, which is the sort of current instance of something in a closure. So right before where it says result, do open bracket weak space self. So sorry, not that one. The where it says result in.
Sorry, gotcha. On line 22 here. So open bracket, regular bracket.
Yeah. Regular bracket, weak self.
It's two separate things like this.
Yep, and then close bracket space. Okay, and then it's going to be like, well, this is an optional type, and the good news is all you have to do is self do question mark dot. So just throw a question mark in.
Here.
Yeah.
Like this?
So, nope.
On the other end.
Nope. Other end.
Oops, right there.
After the F.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool. And then, so that's going to prevent a potential retain cycle. The next thing that you have to do is do one line. So add one more line to this if statement.
All right.
And then self question mark dot table view.
Oops.
Yeah.
We don't want that, right?
Just table view. No.
All right. Let me get rid of all that.
Yeah. And then dot reload data.
Ah, cool.
And so what that'll do is it'll say, hey, this changed, table view, refresh yourself.
Got it. Yeah, okay.
All right, so go ahead and run it.
I think we're already running.
Well, it's running, but it doesn't have any kind of this is not Node, you do not get it to run.
Right. And so I was thinking of,
stop it.
Yeah. And then I'm also thinking Android Studio finally has their Blitz thing. Like if you don't change imports and you're just working within some of the stuff, it can sometimes hot reload. But yeah.
Yeah, it's inconsistent. In my experience.
In mine too. It's been rough. Yeah.
Yeah, it's better than it was, but in my experience, it's been pretty. Ta-da!
Booyah!
Yeah, they're obviously launching a lot of stuff from Kennedy Space Center. I don't remember what CCA is.
Hang on one second. I have to go update my resume with iOS developer.
Sounds like a plan. I'll write your recommendation. But yeah, so now we're actually getting the data.
This is cool. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, one thing that you've noticed is there's a lot of sort of fiddliness with the setup, but you didn't have to write any code for the networking.
Nope.
You didn't have to write any code for the model
at all.
Layer of it. You didn't have to write any code for the parsing. And that's because when you have the information that's in the schema that says, hey, here's everything that's possible and what type it's going to be.
Yeah.
And then if you have your queries, and you can validate that, like, hey, like, I'm asking for this, and it can map it and say, oh, okay, you're asking for that, it's going to be this type. Then you can actually do a ton with code generation that makes it really, really easy to do more and more and more stuff without having to restart. So that is, I guess, the Apollo way.
Yeah, and that is awesome. And so, especially with like a typed language too, I just feel like the amount of code that was abstracted for us. Again, if we come back into this API.Swift,
this is one request.
Yeah, exactly. And to not have to write this yourself, and even you're still making improvements, right, to like make this smaller. But point being is that it's still code, a lot of code, especially in a typed environment that you don't want to be writing by hand. And for the Apollo client setup itself, I was expecting, where'd we go? Master view controller. I was expecting so much more to like initializing the client. I don't know why, but I thought this was going to be like this thing, And no, it's like, import Apollo and instantiate it on one line. Like,
yeah. And that's the thing, is that if you're not doing anything that's terribly complicated, unfortunately, terribly complicated includes sending custom headers.
Yeah.
You absolutely can. Yeah. You absolutely can set up Apollo client in one line. There's stuff where if you need to set up custom headers and stuff like that, there's a much more detailed set of instructions on how to do that. But if all you're trying to do is hit an unauthenticated backend, then you're really in much better shape. Just instantiating and running with it.
For sure. Yeah.
I'm really happy that that's sort of at a point where that's mostly a lot easier than it was a few months ago. And I'm going to continue to try and make it easier and easier. Because it is one of those things where this is where VS Code obviously has a pretty significant advantage over Xcode, in that VS Code has a plugin architecture that basically can do a whole bunch of this work for you. In a way that we really can't do. The plugin architecture that is even at all available right now is very, very limited.
Yeah.
Did you want to install the Xcode GraphQL plugin? It's actually not completely horrible.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's do that.
Okay. So if you tab back over to Chrome.
Oh, okay.
And then if you go to, I would open a new window and go to github.com/ApolloGraphQL /Xcode-GraphQL. And that will bring up our Xcode plugin.
Cool. I didn't even know this existed. Nice.
A lot of people don't. It's partly because Apple declared Xcode plugins dead. Except they're not totally, mostly dead. The one thing that you still do with plugins is add syntax highlighting.
Oh, cool. So that GraphQL file. Yeah. So if we jump back real quick, I just want to, for everyone that's there, where did we put that?
Just above where your mouse is.
Oh, yeah.
Launch list.
Oh, that's right. There it is. Yeah. So currently we have no syntax highlighting here.
Right. So we have no syntax highlighting, which makes everyone sad.
Oh, yeah.
So if you scroll, like, basically the easiest way to do it is to go scroll up to the top, go to clone or download, and select download.
Download zip?
Yep.
Done.
And then open that zip up.
And we could drag this into Xcode, I imagine?
Nope.
Okay.
Now you need to fire up terminal.
Ooh, okay. That's a name I haven't heard in a long time. I always use VS Code terminal, so it's like fun when I get to open up my terminal.
An actual
Yeah.
So then what I would say is you'll need to CD into your downloads
Oops.
folder.
Yeah, hang on. Let me blow this up a little bit, and it's getting like aggressively large. Oh, my mouse is sticking. That happens all the time. All right. Boom. Boom.
Cool. So yeah, so now if you CD into your downloads folder,
Oh, downloads, right.
and then yeah, I think you have to do tilde down. Oh, yes.
There we go.
I love you, Catalina. You're the
I
best.
know.
And then CD into Xcode GraphQL master, and then /, or no, wait, sorry, it's sudo sudo /, and then with the setup.sh.
Oh, setup. Let me escape out of that. Setup dash sh or dot sh. Setup dot sh. Oh, okay. Got it. Run it.
So yeah, unfortunately, it has to be super user because Catalina is Catalina,
Oh,
and yeah. So go ahead and do that. It'll ask you for your password. Put in your admin password, and then
Boom.
okay. So let me just look at this stuff because unfortunately, occasionally it still does that. It still prints out the stuff if something has errored, but it looks like everything seems to have worked. Okay, so if you command tab, so as it'll say, add-on installation completed, please restart Xcode and click load bundle when an alert shows about GraphQL.ide.
So we want to do that. Are we done with the terminal too?
We are now done with the terminal.
Okay. Boom. Goodbye.
Bye, terminal.
Goodbye.
Love you lots.
Yeah, right. Goodbye, Finder. And we'll go back to Xcode and we're going to restart it.
Yep. Quit Xcode.
Bye, Xcode. Stop tasks.
Bye. See you later.
Cool.
Okay. And then go ahead and reopen Xcode.
Opening now.
Thinking.
Oh.
Okay. Whoop. Yep, you wanted that.
We can get it back. Load bundle.
There you go. Load bundle, yeah. And one thing that's super annoying about this is that we have to redo this every single time there's a minor version of Xcode that comes out, because there's some stuff around permissions where it's like you have to have this corrected UUID in order for things to load, and it's annoying. But yeah. Anyway, so
all right, let's see where Xcode went.
Tab to Xcode.
There we go.
Yeah. Okay. So then, go ahead. You can then open Rocket Reserver again. So we'll think about it, and then
just
whenever
think
it's
about
done loading,
it.
Ta-da! It's got syntax.
Oh, awesome! So we got a question in chat. What we're working on here? Unfortunately, we're basically almost wrapping up. But what we did was we created an iOS app. Oh, excuse me. An iOS app from scratch. We got GraphQL, the Apollo iOS GraphQL client added to the app and all set up. We pulled in a schema from the full stack tutorial on the Apollo GraphQL tutorial. We wrote a query. Then we ran our code gen script to generate this API.swift file, which has the actual code that executes the queries and stuff at runtime and prepares that data for us. And then in our detail view controller, we actually master view controller. Thank you. We set up the clients, and then once the view is loaded, we are fetching some data, and we are updating a table view. And so I should be able to run this. And and then as the last step, what you just saw was we installed the Xcode plugin, the Apollo Xcode plugin, and that gave us syntax highlighting for our query files. And so here, this list, this table, this is pulled in. This is sites from launches, from SpaceX launches. And so if I jump back over here to I minimized it. Let me pull that back up. Here we go.
So
we're querying this GraphQL API, and so this is essentially what our query looks like, and then that's where we ended up. And if we bring up the simulator again, we've got a running app. Boom.
Yeah, so you can see where each different launch took place, and then ideally from here you're able to add more properties to
Yeah.
your query so that you can display more information, and that's something that the tutorial walks you through. It also walks you through setting up the UI for it, which thankfully I don't think we're going to have to make Kurt do today. But yeah, it's definitely it's really nice, and I'm a space nerd, so I'm always excited when I'm like, ooh, they launched from Kennedy 30.
Oh yeah.
But and then I have some friends in Los Angeles who every time they launch from Vandenberg Air Force Base, they're like, ooh, shiny.
That's so funny. I wish I could see one.
Yeah, whenever they launch from Vandenberg, like half of LA gets lit up. So especially if they do it at night.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, so that's sort of the very basics of getting started with it. Again, like there's a bunch of stuff that's work in progress to try and get things to be a lot smoother and a lot more repeatable and testable. But it's definitely something where there is a lot of work in progress, and I think there's a number of pieces that are tied together right now in ways that maybe we're reevaluating. I want to try to make it much easier for everybody to contribute.
Yeah.
Because right now, everything that you just saw is actually generated from TypeScript,
which is wild.
All of that code is generated by TypeScript, and I think it's partly because the person who originally created the iOS SDK, Martin Walraven, Martin is much better at TypeScript. Like he has way more experience with it, and I think for him writing generation in it was considerably easier.
Yeah.
I think one thing that we've seen from our Android SDK is that having the actual generation of the code in the language that people are used to writing in makes it much easier for developers to contribute stuff to generation.
Yeah.
Because right now, for developers to contribute to the iOS code generation, you basically have to have like entire node set up. You have to get Visual Studio. You have to figure out how TypeScript works, which iOS developers who are Swift developers are notoriously biased against JavaScript. I certainly include myself in that statement.
Yeah. Well, it'd be weird to be working in languages like JavaScript when you're an iOS developer. Why would you, right? Like, yeah.
Yeah, and it's definitely something where getting a language that everybody is familiar and comfortable with is important, and it really helps in terms of being able to have code that's easier to understand and easier to work with. So
totally,
that's a huge piece of what I'm working on. So yeah, I have like 3 major projects that are all kind of floating around at the same time right now.
Yeah.
But as I land each piece, I'm going to be updating the tutorial to sort of show, hey, here's how this works now. Here's how this works now. Here's how this works now. And hopefully just get everything to a point where it is so much smoother than it is right now.
Yeah, I would just like to say, though, from someone who hasn't worked in iOS at all in like 2 years at least, and then just coming in, like I was able to follow along. I understood what you're saying. I feel like I could have gone through those docs and got this project up and running. So I'd just like to say kudos to you for taking it as far as you have already. So yeah, this is awesome.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a lot of work, but it's and there's still a lot of work to do. But
for sure.
I'm excited for the stuff.
Yeah, me too. I mean, this has got me super excited. I can't wait to do more with this. This has been so much fun. Love to have you back for some follow-ups. I think everybody else would enjoy that as well. Yeah. We got a question actually, and Trevor wants to know if you've ever caught a launch in person for like a shuttle launch.
Wish.
Me too.
Gosh. I really wish. I've never been able to catch one. I think they stopped doing shuttle launches, what was it, 10, 15 years ago? And I think part of me wanted to go see the launch that's going to happen in a couple of months with the SpaceX rocket that they're actually going to like put a couple of people on top of.
Yeah. That's oof.
That takes some stones. But it's definitely one of those things where like I would like to see that in person at some point. But
me too.
It's funny. I remember I was working for another company and I was actually in San Francisco for a work thing. and me and all of my colleagues were watching the launch where it was like, I think it was the Falcon Heavy, where it's the
Oh yeah,
two
yeah,
Falcon 9s, the big one,
yeah.
and then we were all watching that thing where the two Falcon 9s just came
Self
back and landed
land,
in parallel, and yeah,
nuts,
we were just like, what? That it was
nuts.
just one of those things where like the the fact that any of it worked is pretty impressive. The fact that you could land two rockets in parallel is bonkers to me.
Bonkers.
And it's definitely something where like more of my interest in this stuff is in the Apollo age, but I think it's NASA Apollo, not
Yeah, yeah,
Apollo
yeah,
GraphQL.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
yeah, there's only a tiny bit of term overloading that we're doing here, but it's definitely, yeah, like I really really enjoy this stuff, so I think it's pretty exciting.
That's awesome. Yeah, so yeah, Trevor said that moment was exhilarating. It was crazy. They said they were jumping up and down
Yeah,
in the living room. Conrad
yeah,
WT29 said, "Thanks so much for all your contributions to the project. Much appreciated." And
awesome. Thanks,
also,
man.
Conrad, yeah, yeah, no worries about jumping in late. These streams are available on Twitch immediately afterwards for a couple weeks, and then they all end up on the Apollo GraphQL YouTube channel as well, so you can catch them there as well. Yeah. I guess,
Cool.
yeah, this seems like a really good spot to wrap up. I guess my question would be, is there any like, last thoughts or anything that you want to share? I mean, you kind of just did give us a good overview of like what you're currently working on and what's going on, but if there's anything else you could think of, yeah, you got the floor.
Yeah, I think I'm excited about getting people into Swift scripting.
Yeah.
I know that it's not something that a lot of people are doing, but honestly, it is so much easier to deal with than it is than just dealing with like command line stuff.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I really 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 like the entire process of it. I've been a big advocate for this for a while, and I think I'm still sort of wobbling a little bit about when to actually deprecate our Bash script and really go all in on our Swift scripting stuff.
Gotcha.
But it's definitely something that I'm super excited about, just because I feel like there's so much more stuff that you can figure out
Yeah.
from um, just from being able to understand like what's going on there. So
Yeah.
particularly if you've tried that the scripting, if you haven't tried it, try it.
I haven't.
If you
Yeah.
have tried it and you have any feedback on the documentation, I just updated the documentation yesterday to
Cool.
have sort of a little bit of like an ASCII art of the file system to sort
Nice.
of make
Yeah. Yeah.
some of the stuff that I'm talking about make a little bit more sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm really excited about that in the long term, and that's also what's going to ultimately power the Swift-based code gen. And I'm really, really, really excited about that.
Awesome. Very cool. Well, now you've got me excited, which means I'm going to have you come back on and show me how that works. So,
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
yeah. Exactly. Awesome. Cool. Well, I mean, I think it makes sense for us to wrap up there. So, from my standpoint, I guess, the only things that I really want to mention is that we got another stream coming up tomorrow, Launchpad, where actually Trevor, who's in the chat with us now, and I have been building an app kind of from start to finish. So that's a lot of fun. If you're interested in that, definitely tune in. Yeah, and other than that, this was fun. I think I'm gonna try. Let's see if we can find someone to raid. But then other than that, so this is something I'm trying to get used to, which is like Twitch
Are we
raiding.
rating?
We're gonna see if we can raid someone. So first, I just got to
Uh,
bring this over here and see who's online, because there might not be anyone that like. We gotta.
this is where I show my age and go, what?
I have to thank Trevor. He's been getting me in the habit. So this is my age too, because I'm generally like later and then boop end stream, and I always forget to like see who's around in the. Dom is playing Valorant. I mean, yeah, I'm down with that. Let me go find that. Yeah, there you go. Demetrius Anthony. So yeah, let's take a break from code. I think that's cool. And yeah, let's go raid and watch some Valorant. I'm sure he'd love to have us around. Does that sound cool to you?
Sure, why not?
Yeah, right? All right, let's do it. All right, cool. So yeah, we are getting ready to raid. So yeah, with that, we'll say our goodbyes. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. We had a blast, absolutely. And yeah, we'll see you over on Demetrius's channel. See y'all later. Here we go. Cool. And we rated.